Does Sean Payton actually believe that this Denver Broncos team has what it takes to push for the playoffs? Is Bo Nix going to be the starter week 1? We're going to answer all those questions and a ton more from a dude who has been in my earbuds more than any other commentator in the entire NFL. He's also been in the head of Marquette King, DJ Williams, and Roger Goodell. We're, of course, talking about my main man, Dmac, the pride of Syracuse journalism school, Bob Costas, Mike Tirico. They got nothing on him. And truly, I've listened to him every day for over 16 years, and I'm just so happy to have you here, man. Thank you for being here.
What an honor, man. That is so nice to hear. It's great to be here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, 100%. So this is your 16th official training camp, but you covered them when you were with KBPI.
Yep.
What do you see as biggest differences with Sean Payton this year and last year covering the team at training camp specifically?
Well, he's definitely lightening up a little bit. But, leopard doesn't change the spots that much. However, there's more access. There's kind of a closeness to the field and the players and the coach. That's not what it used to be and not what it's been in the past, but it's definitely more than last year. And the Broncos have always been really good with the media, and there's a lot of media out there. And I was out there today, and it was like, whoa. So for a team that, has very low expectations and not a lot of big names, it is just amazing how the local media at least covers the Broncos. So a lot of people out there. And I think what Sean Payton is getting accustomed to is, while there's a lot of us out there, it's not an angry media crowd. It's not East Coast media, which can be kind of bitter and kind of come and get you. It's really not like that. Not really. There's just a lot of us, but it's the West. And I think there's a lot of Western sort of, nice values that are unique here to being in the West.
So do you think his laid backness and those early press conferences, he's going 35, 40 minutes, joking about his shoes. Do you think he's more laid back because he just sees that it's not East Coast media, or do you think he feels better about this team and so he's not as uptight, I guess?
I think it's about the day that he's having. I think it's kind of a personal thing. Like, if he's having a good day, if he feels good about what's going on, he does love to talk about football. He does. So if you stick to kind of football questions, and he loves explaining things, and he loves coaching, he loves minutia too. So if you ever asked him a question about the small details of something, like this new kickoff rule, he could probably talk about forever, about what he thinks about it, what they're going to do about it, how they're looking into it. What he doesn't like, that I can quickly realize, is the gossipy sort of stuff. The quarterback competition and that sort of thing. But that sort of thing is the most appealing to fans. So, you still got to ask those questions. But he's got to, and he knows he's got to make a decision about the quarterback, sooner than later. Because they're going to want to win every game. They're not going to concede anything this year. They're going to want to win. Now, will they? I don't know. I kind of don't care, because I think of this as a development year anyway. I have way higher expectations for them in 2025 and then, of course, in 2026.
Yeah, so he has talked a ton. He had Jay Glazer. He hopped on Jay Glazer's podcast, and they were joking about how he wanted to secretly fly out and surprise Bo. So he's had us all kind of believe that Bo Nix truly was the second quarterback on his board. If you were able to sneak in there and get a picture, where do you think Bo Nix really was on his draft board? Do you think
he was probably second?
Or?
I think he was second or third. He was probably behind Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, but they were never. And I didn't get the vibe they were really into Drake May. But no, I think that's pretty legit. I do believe that. I've talked to folks behind the scenes. The passion for Bo don't forget, they went and worked out Bo. I think it was right after the combine, no, I'm sorry. They didn't go to his pro day. They had a private workout with him the day after his pro day. And I think they really were blown away. Because don't forget, yes, you have to have the physical traits. Absolutely. But what's going to be really appealing to Sean is that Bo Nix is just kind of a more mature football guy. I say, in complimentary terms, Bo Nix is like a football robot. meaning he can process things and deliver them. And look at his career in Oregon, 61 starts. Look at his completion percentage. I think last year upwards of 76%, something ridiculous like that. There's a lot of things Bo Nix can execute, and he's the son of a coach. So he takes to coaching well because he's exposed to it so much. And he's not going to just go off the rails like Russell Wilson, who couldn't process anything and just was always freewheeling, which Sean Payton probably hates. So I think there's a lot of appeal. I think that is absolutely legit. I think they really felt that way about Bo Nix. And, man, I don't know. Everybody I've talked to behind the scenes feels like they got their guy. Not only do they feel like they got their guy, they didn't have to move up to get their guy. So there's a lot of high fives all over the place on this one. That's how they feel. You may have different thoughts. People may have different thoughts. But I'm telling you, that's how they feel.
That's how I feel, too, because I believe.
There you go.
Insanely pumped. So, I probably drink way too much of the Kool-Aid. But to me, I feel like Sean Payton has done nothing to temper expectations at all. Like the comment when he said, I have 2 middle fingers and I've learned how not to use them. And even yesterday, he was asked, hey, what do you do about these low expectations? Don't you think if Sean Payton didn't think we were ready to win this year, he would maybe temper expectations knowing that he's got monopoly money ownership group that would let him go? If we go 4 and whatever, he's on the hot seat, right? Do you think Sean Payton thinks we can win this year?
Well, first of all, he's not on the hot seat if they have a 4-win season. He's not. He has a 5-year contract. It's the second year. And there is very deep belief in him behind the scenes. Not only is he not on the hot seat, I don't think George Payton's on the hot seat, even in a 4 or 5-win season. I really don't. Now, somebody's going to go down with that ship, but it ain't going to be those two because they do understand what this is all about, but they're not making that an excuse. So they're not making any excuses because they don't want to send the wrong message to the players either. But listen, man, they're not stupid, okay? They get it. They get where they're at and what the history is of rookie quarterbacks anyways. Could you have a season like the Texans had with C.J. Stroud? Wouldn't that be amazing? But what you want to be on is the trajectory of the Detroit Lions. Now, they do have a quarterback, but a quarterback that was thrown into the trash heap, right? That was a reclamation project with Jared Goff. But look how they put their team together. And you got to give the Broncos some time. And now they can do it because they got a quarterback. And listen, bro, if Bo Nix is really that awful, which I do not think he'll be, but if he is, and they walk away with a 2-win season, well, all right. So go get, what's his face from Georgia or Shadur Sanders or whoever you want, man. Go do that. That's all. It's not the end of the world. And everybody that's like, clutching their pearls about drafting a quarterback can just chill, sit and spin.
Yeah, you much rather do that than make the mistake of giving up too much capital like we did with, how many failed khaki pants quarterbacks have we gotten? And
dude,
you're right on that. Like I get a quarterback in the draft for sure.
No doubt about it. And they've done it. I think they really like Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. It's funny because he's listed as 6'2", but he has very big features. So his height isn't actually that extraordinary, but everything about Bo Nix is just kind of supersized. And so he comes off with a very strong presence. Now listen, bro, if Zach Wilson can just pull a rabbit out of the hat and just be some sort of magician, hey man, however you want to roll. We just know it ain't going to be Jarrett Stidham. Now, here's the irony, though. Stidham may be the best prepared guy to start game 1, but his ceiling is limited. So it is going to be a tricky decision if Stidham is outplaying everybody in camp to a degree because he might just be the best prepared because he's been in this system. But Zach Wilson has 34 starts in the NFL, and Bo Nix is 24 years old. Dude, he just bought a house in Castle Pines, which usually you buy when you're in your 50s, when you want to be you're rich and you don't want to be around human beings. But, Bo Nix may be mature around his age and hopefully he can host parties at his house.
Yeah, if he were to buy a house, why should he choose Ed Prather? Because that's who I would choose.
Well, everybody would choose Ed Prather.
Everybody.
EdPrather.com. EdPrather.com.
That was for you, Dmac. Absolutely,
Appreciate it,
man.
I'll take it.
So talking training camp battle, we got the quarterback battle for sure, but in covering 16 training camps, who are some dudes that, a lot of Broncos fans check out and are like, oh, I don't need to hear about them, but you've picked up guys over the time who just like pop at training camp and then all of a sudden win your fantasy league or like show up on the stage. So when are some times you can remember over those 16 years where a no name comes from training camp to push us into the playoffs?
Well, the biggest one was probably Julius Thomas, and that was a long time ago. And Brian Zanders, who was the GM at the time before Elway fired him, was very excited about Julius Thomas and kind of tipped us off before the draft. They picked him up in the 4th round, and there were moments right off the bat that were just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we're seeing a tight end beat Champ Bailey. It's like, what is happening here? And then he got hurt. And it was just like, oh, man, I mean, damn, that's too bad. But of course, that was also kind of during the Tebow era, so it might have been a waste of time anyways. But Julius Thomas had a moment of just, whoa, got hurt, and it was like, hey, just wait till he gets healthy. And then, I mean, what a combination once he got healthy. Now, he wasn't much of a blocker and not a total tight end. But, dude, look at that offense in 12 and 13. It's 24 touchdowns in 2 years. I mean, it was unreal. So that's the one that kind of stands out to me the most. Some of it's the other way. Some of it's in training camp, and you're like, whoa, that guy, he ain't the guy. And, there's also quirky things like the Matt Prater incident and the dude from Napa who, got busted after
La Quinta parking lot.
Yeah, right, exactly. He was hiding in the wood chips at the Shane Company on Arapahoe Road after like getting fresh with a cop. Yeah, what was his name? Anyways, that dude. So who knows with training camp? You never know what kind of weird misadventures happen. You can't predict it. You just got to be kind of patient with it. But I will say the Broncos were pretty good in the offseason, right? We had Elvis Dumerville on the gun issue. You had Von Miller, tripping all over the world. You've had sadness. John Elway announcing Pat Bowlen would be stepping away from the organization. We've had a lot of drama. I would say this is about as drama-free as you can imagine. Nobody's in trouble. Everybody's on the same page. Very kumbaya sort of moment here. So, a little boring, but kind of good boring.
Yeah. So I think one of the talking points is like, well, if Bo Nix just works hard enough, he can win that starting job. And I remember just super clearly an amazing story you told about how hard work with players doesn't mean that like it doesn't make up for a lack of physical gifts. And you made the comparison with Tebow and Champ Bailey. Well, I love that story. If you don't mind sharing it.
Well, Tebow was doing wind sprints because Josh McDaniels was doing stupid stuff like after practice. If you're not getting your conditioning in during practice, you're having a lousy practice. Okay. So, but there's Tebow and he's out winning the wind sprints afterwards. And it's just like, you roll your eyes like, all right, Tebow, it's stuff like that. And the story too of like Tebow just couldn't sit still. And Adam Gase comes in the locker room one time and goes, where's Tebow? Kind of like he's late for a meeting. Where's Tebow? And somebody goes, oh, he's lifting weights. And Gase goes, why is he doing that? And kind of runs off to, find Tebow. Meanwhile, Champ Bailey, ask anybody. It's not a big secret, but Champ would be the last guy on the field. He'd be the first one off. And if he ever had a chance to take a knee or sit down or be in the shade, he would. And I asked Champ about that. And he goes, why do I need to do all this? His point was, I'm going to give you everything I can when it's really needed the most, and I'm not going to waste my time. Champ also really didn't lift weights. So he would go, they all lift weights. They're all required to go in weightlifting time. And Champ would go in there with them, and then he would just, hang around because he's Champ Bailey. So he would do some bands and some stretching and some other stuff. But Champ would really, swear to God, Champ was really not in the weightlifting whatsoever. Did all right.
Do you think he would do knee highs on a plane to London?
No, he'd be sleeping. He'd be getting his rest. He wouldn't be doing any of that stupid stuff. That's foolishness. Silly stuff. Silly.
Yeah, it would be amazing to watch Champ Bailey.
Not only is it
Wilson.
silly to do, but the silliest part is you're making a reference to Russell Wilson doing high knees on the plane to London. The silliest part is just telling people that. Like, why? Why does anybody have to know that? And this is the Russell Wilson sort of, he wants to come off like team, but, Russell realizes you can't spell me without team without me. I got to it eventually. You can't spell team without me, and he was one of the biggest me first phonies I've ever covered with the Broncos. That is true.
Yeah, I think, and we all felt it, and is because it wasn't authentic. We all have cringes watching Mr. Unlimited, and all, it wasn't.
Dude.
He's putting on a show for everybody, and
we liked it when he came in here, though, bro. And 2 years ago, man, it was exciting. And I remember camp 2 years ago, and there were signs that, like Russ wasn't really that great. He's just learned the system. That wasn't a good day, like the next day and the next day and the next day. And it was like, when is Russ going to be like awesome? Like, when are we going to see that? And in truth, we really never did see it. And not only that, but you had Nathaniel Hackett's, bizarre system of like not really practicing that hard all the time. And I'm sure there's some sort of legitimate science behind it, but boy, oh boy, did it look weird. And it was an unorganized mess. I'm not saying Hackett didn't have some good ideas. Maybe they were good ideas, but it was so contrary to the culture of the NFL. It just did not play well, and they looked completely befuddled when the season started.
Yeah, 100%. All right, couple rapid fire for you.
Okay.
If you got time for our rapid fire. You have asked some of the best, like, gutsiest questions. You've given zingers to Roger Goodell. You asked Aqib Talib if he shot himself. Asked Von Miller if marijuana was part of his life.
That's
Who
right.
is like the scariest person you've ever interviewed, and how do you do that, man?
Oh, well, Goodell and Vaughn, that's not scary. You got to kind of just sort of, you got to have something in mind, and then you got to have the courage, I suppose, to ask the question. But oftentimes asking a very direct, to the point question, and you don't have to explain a question. Like, I don't have to say, hey, Vaughn, during the off season, you were caught doing this, that, the other thing. And it's like, you don't have to do that. Everybody knows what happened in the off season. So that's why, and that particular press conference was the day before training camp. And actually, I wasn't even the first one to ask a question there. Is marijuana part of your life? It was like the 20th question asked. I mean, nobody, it's like, why is not, I didn't understand why nobody was just asking the most obvious question. And sometimes a good question can be a yes or no answer. In general, you try to avoid yes or no answers. So that wasn't like scary. I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been like a scary moment. It was kind of scary when Marquette King wanted to beat me up. That was kind of scary because that dude was a little off his rocker, and I would not have stood a chance.
Our money's on you.
No,
always
my money wouldn't be on me. And by the way, none of the local media was rushing to my defense. They weren't exactly helping me out in that situation. No, that was a little hairy right there, and it got very confrontational very quickly. I've never really been scared asking a question. But I guess sometimes you have. It's not scary. But it's like, a little nervous. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's what you're thinking of. Yeah. But I will tell you one that I really had to put some thought to. Parrish Cox to me is a rapist, and I thought it was disgusting. He was even on the Broncos for the time that he was, while things lingered, and eventually he was let go. And I went to every day of his court trial down in Castle Rock, and there's no doubt to me that he raped that woman and should be in jail. No doubt about it after being part and seeing that court case, okay? But he was acquitted, but I believe he is a rapist. So Jim Harbaugh was coaching the 49ers, and they picked up Parrish Cox. And Harbaugh had made a statement about being against violence against women, and they used to, back in the day, not that long ago, but they used to have the opposing coach on a conference call for the whole media every week. And so I did confront Harbaugh about the contradictions and statements that he had made in defending, or saying, how terrible it was, violence against women, and the contradiction with his statement about that and this acquisition of Parrish Cox. I did ask him that question. And that one I'm actually proud of. And he was flummoxed. He had no idea how to answer it. And I wasn't trying to do a gotcha sort of question, but you only have like one chance to like talk to these guys. And that was it, man. And he had just acquired him. And to me, it was relevant. And I don't know why I did it. And I felt angry that anybody would pick up on Parrish Cox after what he had done. I thought it was horrible. So, so there you go. And that you might not have even known that story. That's a bit of a quiet one. I haven't really talked about that one that much.
No, I hadn't even. But yeah, the weight of it makes you more nervous because it's like, hey,
I thought about that one a lot. I wrote that one down. I might have even read that one, which is highly unusual for me because I wanted to get the wording exactly right. I wanted to be direct, and I didn't want to mince words. And that was one that, I had to kind of take a deep breath because there's other people around me too. I'm not there by myself. So yeah, moments like that. But, asking Roger Goodell if there are any circumstances in which he would fire himself, that was kind of interesting. Asking Goodell, would he take a drug test for marijuana? And he said he would, and he had, and he passed. That was that got a lot of attention. But those aren't really scary. They're kind of fun. They're sort of a big thing. Scary. I'll tell you what's kind of intimidating. I'll tell you what's intimidating. Asking Nikola Jokic questions is a little intimidating. Asking Nikola questions you got to think about that one for a second because you are realizing it's not lost on you. This is the greatest basketball player in the world. And I can't get over that. Even though I've talked to him a million times, and the fact that I asked him about, are you excited for the parade? And he said he didn't know when the parade was. And that turned into him saying, I want to stay on parade. To me, in my little world, that is kind of a full circle, awesome moment. Because I knew he would have no idea when the parade was
and I have an on parade shirt. So,
do you really?
Yeah, you should be getting kickbacks from that.
So that moment did happen. I got to tell you, that moment did happen because I asked him that question in the first place. No doubt about it. Yeah. And the greatest thing is when you get a response and it was kind of an educated question because I just guessed because they won on a Monday night and I knew the parade was on Thursday. So I just assumed he would have no idea. And I also assumed with like a 3-day break, he would want to be on the first plane back to Sombor. So I got lucky on that one, but it was luck that was informed by, hard work too at the same time.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, we'll let you run on this. It was supposed to be rapid fire.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, you're Dmac, man. I can't even apologize for anything. You're the best.
Be quick. Let's go. Quick.
Peyton Manning really diagnosed your fungal infection. You're tight with Emmanuel. Who's your favorite player you've ever covered?
Nikola Jokic.
Favorite
Bronco? Favorite Bronco?
No, just favorite player. Yeah, just favorite player.
Favorite player overall, Jokic. Favorite Bronco player, Peyton Manning. Favorite player because of my own personal life, Doug Flutie. Buffalo. Got him for a couple of months in Buffalo. It was great. And if you watch A Football Life with Doug Flutie, when I was in my 20s, you can hear me ask him about being short. So go watch A Football Life, Doug Flutie. Go to about the 27, 28-minute mark, and you'll hear me when I was like 25 years ago back in Buffalo.
That's awesome. Favorite Broncos coach you've ever covered?
John Fox. Not the best coach, but my favorite coach.
And then favorite radio partner you've ever had?
Oh, boy, my guy, Alfred. That's a tough question, my man. You're killing me on that. I've loved a lot of my radio partners, but I think it's fair to say my relationship with Alfred was pretty special and unique. Yep. So, but that is not to dismiss the other guys I've had. Scott and Tyler are both fantastic right now. You can tell if I leave somebody out here. Oren Lamena was an incredible partner. Back in Syracuse, my first partner that I loved was Ed Wank. I had a great friend, Rob Lederman, who's a radio partner with me, also in Buffalo. Mark Stout and I have been friends for more than 30 years. Holy shit, that's crazy. I've done digital stuff with Rachel, who's incredible. I love working with. I've worked with a lot of really amazing. Craig Coffey down in Colorado Springs, who was so kind and nice to me. Koba Hoban was another co-host of mine down in the Springs. I've worked talk radio with George Brockler, which was pretty interesting over at KHOW. So I've had a lot of really great partners over the years. Tom Nalen was absolutely spectacular to work with. And I work with Tyler, who I love too. And Scott Hastings has been fantastic. So there's a lot of great people that I've worked with. You put me on the spot there, my man. You get me a little defensive. But my relationship with Alfred was obviously pretty special.
I mean, you're good everywhere, but that was can't miss radio. Those 8 years and
9.5. I want to remember every day. So it was 9.5, and yeah, it was great. I love.
I only had a smartphone for 8 of it, so I only cut the last 8. But,
well, yeah. Alfred's the best. I'm still friends with him to this day. In fact, he did call me earlier. I got to return that call. How about that?
Love him or hate him, he'll kill you with truth. Check him out on YouTube. His videos are linked in the description. Massive shout out to Dmac. Thank you. And Broncos Country, let's believe.